Ask his father what we're so close to.
What do you mean? For the Redmonds.
I am. All right.
Good
morning. For sure.
Oh, yeah.
Hard work pays off, right? All right. So today is Daf Tesvav, Sekas B'Metzia. Share, all those that need.
What is that? What page?
Tesvav. Tesvav B'Metzia. Yeah, hopefully Mr. Shem have a surgery today. Hopefully close up everything. So that's the should go smooth. All right. So Tesvav Amud Aleph. All right, so we got a little further down Tesvav Amud Aleph, maybe around 10 lines in the top. So Bein L'Rava, Bein L'Rava Abuna, Milva Al Pehu. So we're talking about a we had a price before, we had several terutzim. So basically what it comes out for, and we're actually being towards the end of this sugya today. But a person goes ahead and steals a field and then he sells it to somebody else. So over there, so that was the case according to Rava. So being the Rabba Rabhuna, Milva Pes. So the guy gets his field stolen. So he says, "Okay, I need my field back." So he goes ahead and tries to take it back, the value of it. So that's really a loan. In other words, the original guy, right? There was no sale, so it's really considered to be a loan. Milva Peh. But a loan, if I lend a loan to somebody, right, and it's not a documented loan, so let's say the guy goes ahead and defaults, I have to go ahead and collect. I can't collect assets that he already sold because it wasn't a documented loan, so I wouldn't be able to take anything that that he sold. So we're answering no. The guy owed money, and then there was a court case, and then it was a din. Okay, he owes $1,000. Then he owes $1,000. Then he sold his $1,000 land. So then they're able to go ahead and collect the land from a chasim Shabbat. So the Gemara says, "Peiros now." If that's the case, he should also go ahead and be able to collect the peiros. So our answer is no. Amad b'din al keren v'lo amad b'din al peiros. In other words, when he stood for the principal, but not for the extra pairs. That he didn't go ahead and take the course. So it says, my paska. So what's the psat? It says, stam the milsa, kitava inish karna tava beresha. Right? In other words, when the person goes and makes a claim, first he cares about, hey, you took away my principal, you took away the land that you told me was yours. Then that he sues for it, and he's less worried about the actual pairos that were upon the land. So the Gemara says, I have a savar shmuel lokeach. A person goes ahead and he buys some gazla, right? And then it was taken away by the true owner. So he doesn't get the shevach, the improvements that he put in the land. You should go ahead and decide because of when you go ahead and you make a purchase. So go ahead and purchase it from the person that you want to be reimbursed, for any peros or even a shevach. So what is this case talking about? It's about chov, mi slay peret. There's a Baal Chov. Does he go ahead if it's taken away? Does he get a pair? Baal Chov go as a shevach. That says he can go ahead and take the improvements. However, shevach in aval peros low. He does not go ahead and collect the peros, so the peros aren't taken in the first place. So lav lokeach begazlan. Rather, we're talking about a case of he's lokeach from a gazlan. So he purchases it from a gazlan, and we see that he gets peros. Rav Yosef he's not taking it from there. In other words, he's taking it. He gave him money, right? He gave him money for the land, which turned out wasn't his. So he wants his money back, right? And the shevach and the payros, so he goes ahead and he pays him land back. Certainly, so I understand. So we have a case, as we'll soon see later on in this Masechta, right? A person cannot go ahead and lend, let's say, a saw of wheat, and you'll pay me back in 2 weeks for a saw of wheat. Why? Because the price of wheat could go up. And therefore, you're paying me back more than I originally lent you. So where do we see that in this case, because he has karka, you're allowed to go ahead and do it? So in a case of a loan, yes, but over here it wasn't that the money didn't exchange hands in the beginning as a loan, even though it turned out to be a loan, right? The money was supposed to be like a purchase, right? And then it turned out he never owned the land, so it wasn't technically a purchase, but it was not a loan. So therefore, we're more makil when it comes to the appearance, right, of something which appears as ribis versus something which is, and therefore we're more machmer if it was a loan sabasa as opposed to a case of it was b'toras zvini. Therefore, we don't say that. And ikadamri, some of a different version. He made a kin in his hand. Then he took a sudar, he took a kerchief, and he lifted up, and he says, basically, I'll be responsible for any sort of shevach that gets taken away and pay shevach that gets taken away. So understand. So how could he go ahead and take this? Take the money now. Later on, pay him back more, right? Even if it's something else. But makom shekanu miyadu. Over there was a loan, but over here it was done with Torah's a sale. So 2 dots smack in the middle of Tes Vav Amud Aleph. So Gufa, Amar Shmuel says Shmuel, Baal Chayiv. So a person, he's a creditor, he lends money, he can't collect his money. So Goiva es Hashavach. He goes and he seizes land. He's allowed to go ahead and take even the improvements from the guy who purchased the land from the borrower.
So in other words, if the
So if I lent you money, and meanwhile you have land, you sold it to Eddie, right? And then you didn't pay me back. So I go ahead and seize the land, and you sold the land afterwards because when I lent you the money, you still had that land. I'm like, okay, worst case scenario, you guys doesn't pay me back.
so you can
Right,
go to
and
the
he's not gonna
shevach of Eddie's.
So the land that Eddie sold, that Eddie bought from you, because when I lent you the money, you had that land. So I can also get the shevach and get not only the land, but even the improvements to go ahead and cover that. You're right. Now remember, Eddie can go back and he has to get his money from you, right? He has to go back. So in Amarava Teda, Shekak Kasavlai. So this is actually what's written in the contract. So it says, the seller says to Lokach. So in this case, right? Yigal will say that. Right? So he says, I'm going to go ahead and I'll stand up and in any sort of claims against me or this land, I'll go ahead and I'll quiet it down and I'll fight it. And I'll go make sure that this sale is clean from any sort of protest, i.e., anybody who's trying to take this land away. So Inon, whether it's the land itself, or Vamalehun, or any amount that you spend on it, of Shachud, and any improvements on it, I will defend all your rights, Eddie. So don't worry. I'll stand in front of you with Savi Zvinidani. And not only that, so then they'll say, and everybody agreed, even the power agreed, but Kibalaya, that everyone agrees in this case. So in other words, one of the things is that Eddie, you defend his improvements to land. So therefore, if I go ahead and seize it, then ultimately I'm allowed to go ahead and take it, but you have to go ahead and pay him back for the shevach. So let's say like this. Let's say Yigal, right? He borrows money for them, and he's a very generous guy. And he gives Eddie a nice gift. Here's a plot of land. So Yigal doesn't go ahead and pay me back. Now, when Yigal gave him the gift, right? He never made a claim that there will be shevach that will be taken away, and then Eddie agrees. Okay, since you're going to guarantee the shevach, then okay, let's do this purchase. There's no guarantee in this case. So there's a gift. Right. So what about in that case where he didn't say Yigal didn't say I'm responsible for the shevach. He just says I'm giving you the land. Enjoy. Happy birthday. So since Yigal didn't agree in this matana to reimburse any sort of improvements that Eddie does, he should. You're right. If Yigal didn't guarantee it, so therefore the improvements are not. So it says right now, and therefore I can't go ahead and collect the shevach. So Gemara says, is it the strength of matana better than a sale? So yes, yes, it is in that regard. The matana is better. That I can't. If it was sold to Eddie, then I can go ahead and even take the shevach. But if it was only given to him as a gift, then I can't go ahead and collect the shevach. I can only go ahead and take. Without the improvements. So Amarav Nachman Hamasnis and Masai the Shmuel. We actually have a brisa that supports Shmuel. However, but Huna and others, right, and his colleagues, they actually say it's a different case. The tiny little brisa, it says one who goes ahead and sells a field to his friend. and then it gets seized by, let's say, me in the case, right? So Yigal sells it to Eddie. I seize it. So when I go ahead and collect, I go ahead and collect the principal from the loan, even from land he sold to Eddie. However, and the shevach I can only go ahead and take from nechasim b'nei charim, not from that. So therefore, we see that I'm able to go ahead and collect the shevach ultimately. However, so it wasn't a case of where it was actually Yigal's land is sold. But rather, it was talking about a case of where Yigal stole my land. Right? There was never a loan, but Yigal stole my land and represented to Eddie that it was his, and sold it to him. And Yigal got the money. Right? So he sold land that wasn't yours. Right. So in such a case, right. So therefore, when I go ahead and collect it, I can go ahead and collect the land, but I can't go. However, the shevach. Right, so Eddie gets his money back from Yigal, right? But in terms of the shevach, so not in that case because it was for the Gaza. So that case, right? So that case he gets it. So the shevach comes from Bnei Chorin. From he gets reimbursed, but only from Bnei Chorin. Cannot be meshubadim from other lands of Yigal. And Tani has a price and support. How much is the chaver? One goes out and sells a field to his friend. And he improves it. The tarfa, a balcho comes along and he goes ahead and he seizes it. When he goes ahead and needs to get the money back from Yigal because I took it away from him. So when he goes, if the improvements is more than that which he spent into it. So now those improvements are more. So now he tells the shevach mibala karka. So he goes ahead and he collects the shevach from the balak by yitzia mibal chov, right? And now with the shevach, he improved it, right? He put in $100 into it, and it was worth $800. The improvements, right, were $800 value, and Eddie spent $100. So the $800, Eddie's bought the land, and he improved $800. So he gets the other $700 from Yigal by yitzia, and I, the creditor who took my land back. Lamaisa, Eddie put $100 into my field, so I got to reimburse Eddie for that $100. That's it, because I ultimately got the yitzia. Be my yitzia, say shevach. But if Eddie was not a good businessman and he put more money in than the actual improvements, and Lela hadsa shir shevach, he only gets the amount he spent in up to the amount that improved it. So if Eddie spent $500, but the land only improved for $300, Eddie would only be able to get back $300 mibalchov and balchov. Shmuel mukim la. But Shmuel was talking about the case, so he says like this. So he says, if we're talking about a case where he takes it from the Gazlan, it's a kasha resha. It's a kasha resha. Why? Dumber Shmuel look at Gazlan unless they shiva. He doesn't get the shevach at all, right? According to Shmuel, right? Even if he takes from a Gazlan, then he doesn't get any shevach, right? He does. In other words, that Eddie's out of luck there. And if it's talking about the Balchov took it, so kasha reisha v'seif, it's a kasha in both of them, right? Because Demer Shmuel Balchov goes the shevach. He says the Balchov does take the shevach. So Ibai saying the Gaz, when you talk about the case where he took it from the Gaz, and Kagan Sheish the Karka, in other words, when he takes the land for the shevach, he's not taking the money on top of it, right? He's taking the land, or when he made a kinyan that he guaranteed him that he'll go ahead and reimburse him. Or Ibai saying, but Balchov, maybe we're talking about a Balchov. Like Kasha, Kan b'shevach hamagia liksafim. So one is a page, right? One is a page, right? Turn the page, right? One is where the crops have already grown to the shoulders. So it's basically like payros. It's basically almost considered to be like separated from the ground. So if I seize that from Eddie, so Eddie can get reimbursed. And that's not regular shevach. That's like fruit ready to go. That's like cash, right? So therefore, those who get reimbursed. However, shevach should give liksafim, but the stuff that's not. He would not be able to be compensated for it because it's really still part of the cargo. But it even goes ahead and collects that. So the kasha, so one is the case where the loan is both of them together is the extra fruit and the land itself. So therefore, that covers the amount that I'm out, and therefore I do not have to go ahead and pay back for that because that was the full amount that I was out. That was accredited. And the other one is if I seize both, right, when it's land and the crops. So then, since I'm getting back more than what I was owed, therefore I would go ahead and have to go ahead and pay back be Paris in that case, right? The Shevach in that case, and right? And therefore he goes ahead and he takes it, his Shevach, and then he basically can get him out of the property. So the word says that's the case. So this works well according to the case. If you hold that, let's say Eddie had money, and Eddie says, "Yo, why are you collecting you guys' land from him? What is you? $10,000? Here's the check for $10,000. Leave the land alone." Right? So according to one opinion, where I can't go, where Eddie can't go ahead and just buy me off, and therefore I can go ahead and collect it. It makes sense why I'm going to go ahead and collect it. If the buyer does have money and he's able to go ahead and pay the Balchov off, it's a name of late. If I had money, I would be able to prevent you from taking any land. I would just write you a check. However, but now they don't have the money. Right? So if the Shevach, right, which I could have paid you off for, so at least leave it. So the Shevach is really my equity in the land. So even though I have no cash, I have no equity, right? But I have equity in the land because you're coming to seize $10,000 and you're actually coming to get $12,000 because that's the improvements of the land. So it's as if I have $2,000. So leave me $2,000 worth of land and take your $10,000, right? Why should that be any different if I had the cash? If I had the cash, I just pay you $10,000. So why should you be able to go ahead and collect the $12,000? Just take, leave me $2,000 worth of land, right? So where says so even in a case of where you hold, you can go ahead and pay him off. That doesn't work if it's a poitik. If Yigal said to me, "I'll lend you the land," and says, "Oh, I'll let me borrow the money," I said, "Okay, I'll lend you the money, but if I have to collect this from this specific piece of land," and we make a kidding on that, so therefore, even in the case if you hold that Eddie's allowed to go ahead and pay me off, the buyer could pay him off. Says, "Creditor, don't take the land." If the deal was, if you default in the loan, I collect this piece of land, then you can't pay me off, and I go ahead and collect the land. Right, more. Two dots.
That's to protect the guy that been owed.
Right. Because right. So that that was the deal. That was the deal on that land. Right. It was almost like a mortgage. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now he gave us a show. Let's say Eddie's done business with Yigal a long time, and he's suspect that this land is not really Yigal's. See, he kirbash ain't a shalom for about two dots. If he the buyer senses something that's funny, and he buys it anyway. So Amar Rav says Rav Mos Yeshlo.
It's not his
because he stole it.
No,
all right.
No due diligence.
Right. So right. And he's buying things. Something's funny. Now, so he said. So Amar Rav Mos Yeshlo Shavachemo. So he gets his money back. Eddie will get his money back if it turns out that Yigal didn't own the land, I own the land, but he doesn't get he doesn't get reimbursed for any improvements. Ushmol Amar, Afilu Moselo. Now he's not getting the improvements, but he doesn't even get his money back. What's the machlokes over here? So Rav commit flagi. So Rav Savar Adam Yodeh Shekarka Ein Lo V'Gamanas Lo Shebikadam. One says this. Eddie, what does he really want? He wants someone to watch his $20,000 while he's going on vacation. So he says, I have an idea. I'll pretend I'm buying Yigal's land. Here's $20,000. And when the land gets taken back, he'll give me my $20,000 back. And here, he's watched it for me for free, right? So, see, he says, and therefore, he gave him as a pikadon, as a collateral. So therefore, he's able to go ahead and get the money back when it's over. The name of the shum pikadon. So why does he just say, well, it's not a sale then? So let him just say, okay, here's Yigal watched my $20,000 for me. Because he knows that Yigal won't go ahead and watch from him. So in other words, he does this scenario it's for him to watch it for, but Lamaitza he has to pay him back. He knows that the land is not his. The government and Eddie gave Yigal the money for a gift. Therefore, later on, all of a sudden the land gets taken away, and Eddie says, you know what, Yigal, pay me that money back. Right? But if it was a gift, then he doesn't have to give it back. So therefore, he holds it was a gift, he doesn't have to give it back.
Because the land was
No, the land.
Gave me the 20,000 is a gift, right?
No. He was buying the land from you, right? But he knew the land probably wasn't yours. So he wanted to give you 20,000. He wanted to help you out, right? He wanted to help you out. So it was really a gift. But you would, right? So the verse says, the name of the Shumataris. Why didn't you say, Yigal, here's the gift of $20,000. So when I says, no, it would have been too embarrassing. Yigal wouldn't have taken the gift. He didn't want Yigal to be embarrassed. So he says, okay, I'll do some business with you. Right? It's like Shalom used to sell those shoes. Remember Shalom Rosenshine?
Lord.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Shalom Rosenshine.
Oh, yeah.
Ricky Span, he's always to sell shoes. Okay, you don't need the shoes. You purchase the shoes. You never wear them. But so sometimes it says, so you want to do it as a gift. So therefore, since it was a gift given to Yigal, he doesn't have to go ahead and pay Yigal, right? He can't get his money back from Yigal. We actually had this very similar case. One who goes ahead and gives his sister money. Hey, sister, right? I like you like my parents. I like your parents, right? Good in-laws. Let's go ahead and get married. Stay in this house, mom and dad's house. So he's Mekadosh his sister. Obviously, the Kedushin does not work. But what do you do with the money? Does she have to return or not? So Rav says the money goes back. The money was a gift. So Rav he holds that he goes back. Why? So everyone knows that Kedusha is not typhus between a man and a person and his sister, a brother and his sister. He doesn't want his sister to watch his money, and therefore he gave it to her and says, but really gets the money back later. I have a name and law of a shubika. Otherwise, he said to her, okay, I gave it to you as a collateral. So he knows that his sister, wouldn't watch it from him. And Shmuel says over there, almost says no. The money is a gift. Why? Because Adam Yodesh ain't Kedushin type. So everyone knows that Kedushin is not typhus between a brother and a sister. So gave it to her as a gift. So why does he just tell her, here is money as a gift? The answer is no. Ksifala Milsa would have been embarrassing for her to take the gift. So why do you need both cases? The case of Kedushin and the case of buying a field, which you suspect was not the original seller. So the Tzrika. Well, maybe only in that case, a person typically does not go ahead and give gifts to strangers. When sister, maybe, and both would agree it's not a collateral, it's not a pikada for her to watch, rather, or a deposit for her to watch, rather it was a gift. No, rather he says he is giving to his sister to be a deposit. And if it was the case of the stranger, in that case it was Shmuel. But if in the case of strangers, maybe I would say that it was pikadon. So Kamash Blond, even to a stranger, it would be a gift. So therefore it's Rika. And Bein l'Rav, down pikadon, and Bein l'Shmuel, whether according to Rav it says it's pikadon has to be returned, or Bein l'Shmuel who says no, it was a gift. Damar matana, hi la'ara, this land, how can he go ahead and work the land? Heichi yachil. Right? How can he go ahead? So Savar, Ana Ichas Liara. He says, no, I'll go down to the land. I'll go ahead and use the land, even though ultimately it will probably be taken away. I'll go ahead and work the land, just like the owner would have worked it, right? And therefore, since he goes ahead and work it. Right? So he says, and therefore, in this case, he will go down and he would work the land just like anybody else, would go down to work the land. And then once the guy, the owner comes, Mara Zuze Nahabi, right? And then the money Nahabi the Rav down Pikadon and the Shmuel down Matan, right? And so according to Rav, it says is the Pikadon, then the money is the Pikadon, he gets the money back, and the Shmuel down Matana, and he says Matana, then Matana he gets to keep the money. And Amar Rava says when he buys from a Gazan, Hilchasa Yesh Lamos, he gets his money back. The Yesh Shevach, and he even gets the improvements back if he bought something that didn't know was hers. And Afapi Shelo Pirish Shevach, even though when he bought it. So in the case when Yigal said it was his land, he sold to Eddie. Even if Yigal didn't say I'll reimburse you for any Shevach if it gets taken away, nevertheless, Yigal has to reimburse Eddie for any sort of improvements. However, but if Eddie recognized when he was purchasing it, that is probably not Yigal's. She'ena Shalov, Elochan, and Eddie bought it anyways. Most Yeshlo, Eddie does get his money back. However, Shevach he does not get improvements. And Achrayas, and regarding Achrayas, sometimes written, if the loan is not done, and then you can go back and take from encumbered properties. So Tosaf here, if it was left out, then it was really the Sofer's, the scribe's fault, and really, but it should apply to every loan. Right? Who bein b'shtari halva, bein b'shtari mekach, whether it's a sale document or a loan document. Fine. Well, it's 7 lines on the bottom. So let's say this case, Eddie still land to Eddie. He needed the money. Then all of a sudden, Yigal bought some Bitcoin, and made a few bucks. And now he says, you know what? I should probably go ahead and buy that land that I sold to Eddie. I should probably go to Yoel before he all of a sudden realizes that I sold his land to somebody else. Maybe I'll go buy it from him, basically to reinforce the fact that I was able to go ahead and sell it, right? It's almost like a short sale, right? I guess he sold it first, and now he's looking to go ahead and buy it, right? So now in that case, so can I go ahead and say, hey, he stole the field from me, and I go ahead and take it back? Or do we say that even though he sold the field, but later on it was purchased, so therefore everything is all good? So I'm out. So I'm late. What did the first guy? What did he sell to the buyer? Any chus that he has. So therefore, ultimately, later on, if Yigal buys it, so therefore it can never be taken away because ultimately Yigal bought it. So my time, my zusha. Why? Because it's good for him not to be called a Gaza. Right? That in other words, that he also likes that his word is kept. He keeps his word, and the other ones he doesn't like to be called a Gaza. So my benayu. So what's the difference? Let's say the buyer died, and his yours should have it. So man, if he doesn't like that, the Gazan will call him, or the person who bought it will call him a Gazla and Hamaisle. The guy died. Well, man, otherwise, the legal man who say, no, he wants to be, honest and keep his word and sell the field. So, right? Ultimately, it does. His word is kept because he kept the property with the heirs. So Gemara says, but Karli b'nei lokech gazana. I understand, but he's still a gazan, even according to both of them, right? Even according to the other opinion, so the buyer doesn't call him a liar, but his children will call him a liar. So Lamaisa, there's no nafkamina. So what's nafkamina? We'll have to see Metz Hashem tomorrow. Everyone have a wonderful day, and I guess stay dry. See you guys.